Yesterday was officially Black Wednesday for Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, and Mickey Lombardi. All got fired yesterday on behalf of the Las Vegas Raiders. Mark Davis, who ended up doing the firing as of this week here. Here, I'm going to introduce it here to let us interrupt use Joe Salvo, which is me, which is myself. God, that was a crappy introduction. But anyway, Josh McDaniels was fired as of yesterday, along with Mickey Lombardi and Dave Ziegler. Not surprised that McDaniels was going to get fired. I mean, I figured he was going to get fired at the end of the year anyway. I mean, that's what I really figured in my head here. But me, and what I had the question here was, why did they fire the general manager, Dave Ziegler? Why did they fire Lombardi, their offensive coordinator, who, by the way, wasn't even calling the plays? It was all Josh McDaniels from the moment his head coaching tender started in Las Vegas. Lasted 28 games in Denver. Had an 8-8 record in 2009. Had a 4-12 record. He was 12-20 in those two seasons with Denver. Here with Las Vegas, he was, I believe, and I'm going to say it now here, 10-15 in 25 games with the Las Vegas Raiders. This came out of nowhere, and honestly, this is by far the stupidest firing that the Las Vegas Raiders have ever done here. It seems like here, all the Las Vegas Raiders wanted to do is create news and create controversy and create attention for themselves here, because they did nothing in the trade deadline that would have bettered this team. The direction that they're going in right now is not what Davante Adams wanted. So trade away Davante Adams. That solves your problem right there and then. Instead, they do nothing. And they waited till like 10 o'clock Tuesday night to really fire Josh McDaniels. I was going to do this yesterday, just do a whole review on the whole firing and this whole thing, but I should just let the cat out of the bag now. Mark Davis is not a really good NFL owner. He is a toxic waste of space when it comes to this organization. He always has been, and he always will be. Al Davis was a guy at this point that wanted to spite people. Mark Davis is the exact same way. He overpaid his hand with John Gruden by paying him a 10-year, $100 million contract. Came up with an excuse to fire him really for over ridiculous emails from 10 years ago. Because let's be realistic here. The reason he came up with those ridiculous excuses to fire him in the first place was because of the fact that he's money poor. He is more money poor than Donald Trump is. Why do you think he's owned so many NFL teams? Why do you think he has a business partner in Tom Brady who's making millions and millions of dollars from TB12 branding? He wants that money. He's going to get it as much as he possibly can at this point. Why would Tom Brady go into business with some guy who's money poor? Don't ask me why. He did it with Donald Trump. Now he's doing it here with Mark Davis. And the funny thing of it is, if you think about it really, and this really wouldn't surprise me, if Tom Brady was involved in the firing position, now he doesn't have a lot of power per se, although I don't really believe in the NFL when it comes to there's certain rulings because they break the rules every single time, and the commissioner, Roger Goodell, finds a reason to bail them out unless it's a court hearing where it makes him look bad. Otherwise, that's the majority of the story right now this week, is Josh McDaniels getting fired. I think Tom Brady had a hand in this. I know him and McDaniels were having a falling out at that point in time, back in his time in New England at this point, and he just wanted – and I feel like it was more like a spite kind of thing, maybe like more like an advice kind of thing that got Mark Davis to pull the trigger. Not only did he fire all three of those guys, but he benched Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, if that's not like at least – to me, the whole team would quit on Garoppolo more than they quit on McDaniels and the offensive coordinator and the general manager here. That's what my take is on the whole thing of it is. But – the whole team quit on Garoppolo. He's thrown 9 interceptions in 8 weeks of football. 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I think he's thrown for under like 700 yards. He's missed 2 games, and he leads the league in picks. That's pretty sad. But Mark Davis, by far, is the stupidest owner in the NFL today. There's no question about it. He took in Davante Adams and got Derek Carr. Perfect combination. They went 7-10. They got rid of Derek Carr because they didn't think he was taking over the hump right now. That, and he got in a feud with Josh McDaniels over Darren Waller, so he wanted nothing to do with him after that. And the moral of the story is that Davante Adams, his wanting to stay here is now going to come in question now because, you got rid of the one guy that was making him come here in the first place and wanted to play with him for the next 5 years, 5-10 years down the road, retire together, go out together, on a fair note, like Gronk and Brady sort of did once or twice. So to me, that's the story here. Now, Hunter Renfrow in the trade line, nobody wanted because it was complete garbage. Okay? His value was not as high as Davante Adams was. That right there is the moral of the story here, is that they were so focused on Renfrow because they were so desperate to keep Davante and Jimmy together. But now the reality of it is, at this point, is that Jimmy Garoppolo is no longer the starter cornerback for the Las Vegas Raiders. That's the funny part of this whole thing. But Mark Davis, by far, is the stupidest NFL owner there is today. You're overpaying Josh McDaniels over $45 million for 6 years. You just fired him in the second year, right? You still got another 3 or 4 years to go with that contract, which, by the way, coincidentally, ends at the same time as John Gruden's $100 million contract that you're still paying him right now. You have to pay these guys no matter how you look at it. You have to do it. And you overplayed your hand when it came to Davante Adams' contract. I thought that was ridiculous. And the funny thing of it is, if you think about it, like here's one way of looking at this. Davante Adams at this point, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I think Davante Adams never wanted Jimmy G to come to Las Vegas. And he never really wanted to stay in Las Vegas at that point in time, but he could not leave because Mark Davis wouldn't let him. That's the reality. Because Mark Davis is clinging on to hope right now that Davante Adams can bring him over that next hump. Now they're going to be going in a totally different direction, which to me is pretty pathetic. And I think, honestly, when you overpaying your hand here to a head coach that was never good in this league, 50-plus wins, 80-plus, like 70 or 80-plus losses, was fired as an offensive coordinator in St. Louis. I mean, there's just so many things wrong with McDaniels here in this whole thing. My thought process was that you could have traded away Davante Adams. Instead, you kept him, a guy who clearly does not want to be in Las Vegas. You could have traded him to the Baltimore Ravens, got at least 2 or 3 first-round draft picks back in return. You could have gotten a wide receiver that's similar to Adams, if not below the average margin for Davante Adams' ability to play. You could have gotten back Rashad Bateman. You could have gotten back Devin Duvernay and like 3 first-round picks. That's doable. Those are almost equivalent to what Davante Adams is as a person. That right there is a perfect trade package right there. No problem. Why didn't they pull the trigger? Because Mark Davis is a hopeless moron when it comes down to it. He's got to see things through. Even though he knows he needs to pull the trigger now and move this player down, he will not do it. Now Davante Adams is stuck in purgatory now in Vegas now for the next year until he opts out of his contract, which, by the way, this is his opt-out year. So he will opt out by the end of the year now. There goes $150 million at this point, dead money, where you could have just split it down the middle 50-50 with somebody else. And I don't know if it was the fact right now that the Raiders just were desperate to keep him at this point. Like McDaniels wanted him to stay. He was saying all the right things. And the sad thing is, here's the irony in this whole thing. Josh McDaniels at this point is the worst head coach, I would say, probably in the last, I would say, not of all time, but he's one of the worst head coaches in the NFL right now. He's worse than Brandon Staley. There's no question about it. 25 games and you're 10-15. And you have Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, Darren Waller at the time before he got traded to New York. And then you had Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers now at this point. You can't get over the hump with that? I'm just curious. What is preventing this team from succeeding here? And it's Mark Davis. Mark Davis, by the way, who fired their general manager, David Ziegler, who was a former GM of the Patriots, former player personnel kind of guy until Matt Groh took his job, and he got the GM position. Really was just a co-GM with Bill Belichick, if we're going to be realistic here. But what was wrong with him? He was the one that got Jacoby Myers. He was the one that got Jimmy Garoppolo. He was the one that got Devontae Adams. Hell, he was the one that really gave Hunter Renfrow some contract extension. He was the one that did it all. And Hunter Renfrow was on his last year. They could have pulled the trigger right there. They wanted him to stay. I don't know why they fired Dave Ziegler here. And maybe this is a Brady power movie. Brady might have gotten involved in his firing. I'm convinced of that. Because Mark Davis can't do anything by himself. He is the worst owner in the NFL. He does not know what he's doing. At this point now, if I just come up with two bad owners in the last, 20 plus years, Dan Snyder before he eventually got fired, let go and was forced to leave, and Mark Davis. The way I see it, he needs to sell the team at this point in order to make more money again from this franchise. Because right now he's losing money. He's losing money as an owner. He's not getting anything out of it. Like if you look at it right now, the prices are not as high as Patriot tickets. Not even close. They're not high. They're not higher than Commander tickets. They're not higher than Giant tickets. They're not higher than Jet tickets. So to me, he's wasting money. He's throwing money practically away out the window. And he was ready to give ownership to Tom Brady. Most of it, the majority of it. Why? Because he wanted out. I think he wanted to sell more than he wanted to be business partners with Tom Brady. I think he wanted to be a silent partner and get the hell out of there. He wanted Tom Brady's gig more than anything else. And the way I look at it, a perfectly good example of a horrible owner, your guy wants out, trade him. You trade away Hunter Renfrow. You trade away Devontae Adams. Hell, even sacrifice it yourself at this point right now. Trade away Jacoby Myers. Here's one way of looking. Here's a guy at this point who wanted to get the hell away from the Patriots and prove he can be on a winning team. I don't know if Jacoby Myers sticks around next year now. That's one way of looking at it. I don't think he sticks around next year. And if Bill Belichick gets fired or gets traded away to the Washington Commanders, I wouldn't be surprised if Jacoby Myers were to go back to New England. And as far as Josh McDaniels go, I think he should stay out of coaching for a while. Go on hiatus for a while. Dave Ziegler, I think, should realistically be GM, I would say, of the Chicago Bears. Get Ryan Poles out of there. Transition to a different team at this point. The offensive coordinator is going to be Mickey Lombardi. My advice to him right now is, if you want me an offensive coordinator next year and Bill O'Brien takes over or be an OC somewhere else, try the Giants realistically. But take Jimmy G with you, because that's the only way he's going to be able to be successful with you. That's how I look at it. All these rumors that have been circulating this week, about Belichick and his contract, stuff like that. He wants $20 million. There could be a chance this offseason where Bill Belichick gets traded to the Washington Commanders for draft capital in this whole thing. I say let it happen. Ron Rivera is on his way out anyway. He knows that. The team knows that. The ownership knows that. They are going to get a better coach. Personally, I think once that happens, Washington's going to lose everything in this whole trade, because here's the thing. Bill Belichick only cares about that record. He's going to do the exact same job he's doing right now in New England. The team is not any better than what New England is right now. They just got rid of Chase Young, and they got rid of Montez Sweat. Sweat's in Chicago. Young's in San Francisco. The odds right now are not looking too good. That's the way I see it. The odds are not looking too good right now for the Commanders going forward at this point. Now, the reason this trade didn't happen, well, quite simply put, they think they can get more wins without Bill Belichick. They probably can. It's probably doable at this point. And right now, I'm putting money right now on the Washington Commanders this weekend to beat the New England Patriots and make the Patriots go to 2-7. I'm sorry. The Patriots playoff run, it's dead. There's no path to the playoffs. That's another team that during the trade deadline on Tuesday that did absolutely nothing. I mean, live and learn. An owner that doesn't care at this point wants to be a fanboy more than an owner, and an owner that wants completely nothing to do with his team. Kind of ironic, huh? Kind of ironic how the Patriots have become the Raiders at this point. Ugh. You want to know how embarrassing that's become at this point if you're a Patriot fan? You become a Raiders fan at this point? Like you become the Las Vegas Raiders? Ugh. Ugh. It's disgusting after a while. It really is. Anyway, I hear this stuff and it's just like, oh God. Let me see here. Now Mark Davis had something to say about this, and I'm going to give you a chance to read at this point. Reveals the main reason for decision to fire all three guys. The duo was let go because the Raiders were going the wrong direction. For Davis, this decision to fire McDaniels and Ziegler essentially came down to one thing. He didn't like the direction the team was headed. It just seemed we were going in the wrong direction. So with the trade deadline, I just felt it was time to make a change, time to make a move. Wasn't impressed, by the way, with the Raiders offense, who, by the way, 29th in the league in points scored. They're 32nd, by the way, in the rush and rushing yards, too. Just FYI, 31st in passing yards as well. The offense has been struggling for the most of the season, and Davis definitely noticed it just didn't seem like it was gelling. And as you watched it, it just seemed like it was very important that we made a change. With McDaniels out, the Raiders have already made some wholesale changes on the offense. For one, they also fired our offensive coordinator, Mickey Lombardi. They benched Jimmy Garoppolo, and Aiden O'Connell got to start this week against the Giants. And Antonio Pierce, by the way, is the interim GM. By the way, zero experience in the NFL. Never coached in a collegiate league at any point in time. And was apparently as a defensive coordinator or linebackers coach last year on the team. Here's my question. What was the last time Antonio Pierce was relevant? I'm just curious. Because don't get me wrong, like I think the idea, is good. But Antonio Pierce, who's been off the chain, off TV, not doing anything NFL media-wise, he comes back, 13 years later to coach for the Raiders, interim-wise. This is going to go down worse than Jeff Saturday's run as an NFL head coach. I'm just being realistic here. Apparently, and I was wrong with the coaching in collegiate league. He was 4 years coaching at Arizona State. But he had 9 seasons as an NFL player. He's a linebackers coach for the Raiders currently at the time. Now he's a head coach. But I'm sorry here. Just the thought process behind this whole thing. Are they trying to just tank the rest of the way here and do what Chicago did last year and go 0-9 the rest of the way? I'm just curious because Antonio Pierce, to me, is the least relevant person on the coaching staff right now. Realistically, he has no defense at all whatsoever, defensive prowess mindset whatsoever. He's not making a difference for that team. They don't listen to him, and now he's the head coach of the team. By the way, the whole situation with Chandler Jones as well, by the way, kind of strange. Maybe McDaniels had a part in playing that. Maybe it was Mark Davis. Maybe it was Tom Brady. Who knows? There's a lot of things involved in this whole thing that we just can't add up here. And Rich Brissett, they're trying to recreate 2021 with Brissett when they went 7-5 in the final 12 games. Here's the way I look at it. The best chance they have of doing that at this point was by keeping Garoppolo as a starting quarterback. I don't think he's the problem. Yes, he's thrown 9 picks, but I don't think he's really necessarily the problem. Yes, they faced the Detroit Lions. That's a tough team. In their home field, in their home territory, I don't think that was their problem. But I got to say right now, as far as, Garoppolo struggles here, look, the way I look at it, he's washed. But it's not like at this point in time right now that at any point in time that, they were doing him any favors here. Renfro gave up on some plays. Devontae Adams couldn't get open. He dropped the ball. Jacoby Myers couldn't get open at certain points. I mean, it's stupid. It really is stupid, the way I look at it right now at this point. And I think the explanation of giving the guy the job, he said, quote, he was very confident of him being the right choice for the team. 45 years old, spent 4 seasons at Arizona State before joining the Raiders staff as a linebacker coach in 2022. I don't know. I think you could have kept McDaniels around. I don't think they gave up on McDaniels. They gave up more really on Lombardi. I'd fire the offensive coordinator right away before I'd fire the head coach. A guy who wasn't playing any calls and a guy that no one respected. So, and Antonio Pierce, to me, as a linebackers coach, the defense was, in the 25s, every year, even after when he came in. I mean, it's like a revolving door, that job. So I don't get it. I don't get it. It's frustrating, really, more than anything else. It really is. But I will say this, though. Bill Belichick, the idea of him going to the, going to be traded out of here and Josh McDaniels taking the job, as far as I'm concerned, I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't. I don't think it's a realistic thing. Ron Rivera probably taking a job, possibly. Maybe. But is he a quarterback whisperer? I don't think he is. So I think realistically at this point, the idea of getting Jim Harbaugh goes out the window. I think getting Brandon Staley here, though, maybe a stretch. Maybe a long shot. I don't know. But it's a wait and see kind of thing. It really is. It really is a wait and see kind of thing. And it really does get you thinking. It really does. Taylor Heineke, by the way, will get the start this weekend for the Atlanta Falcons as they take on the Minnesota Vikings. Jaron Hall, who will be most likely going to be the starter as Joshua Dobbs plays backup behind Hall. The way I look at it here, it's like I go at it like this. It's making me rethink my prediction right now because I think Heineke magic might be coming back alive for Atlanta. It might be. I don't know how much going forward it is realistically here, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens going forward. It's not a guarantee, but we'll see. It's prediction time here for tonight's NFL matchup. Thursday Night Football. The Tennessee Titans will be taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Will Levis is getting ready to put mayonnaise in his coffee before he gets into Pittsburgh tonight to play against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Heinz Field. I'm going to keep calling it Heinz Field because I'm not going to call it Acura Stadium. My prediction here is that Will Levis last week threw for 4 touchdowns against the top 10 ranked defense in the Atlanta Falcons, which I never thought I'd ever see this because here's a fact going into this whole thing. The last time they were a top 10, top 15 defense, go back to 2004, 2005 when they won the NFC South with Michael Vick. That's the last time. That was impressive of what they did last week. It really was. Grady Jarrett, by the way, tore his ACL in the middle of that game. He's done for the year. So that kind of hurts the Falcons defense a little bit. But on the Pittsburgh side of things, I don't think you're going to make it Fitzpatrick this week. I think he's out for this week with a hamstring because I don't think they're gonna really they're gonna have him play tonight. I don't believe. Not 100% sure on that front there. But if I had to make a pick in tonight's game, with Will Levis as their quarterback now and that offense being completely different here, I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans here as upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. I just think that Will Levis has got a good arm. This won't be a fluke game for him. And in terms of like what's happening now going forward with this whole thing, with Pittsburgh being shorthanded, not having Minka Fitzpatrick, having not Pat Hemmerth come back until he's done with his hamstring injury after week 11. I mean that right there in and of itself, you have a lot of question marks on that side of the ball for defensively for Pittsburgh. And I think realistically, with the way DeAndre Hopkins is playing right now, leading the team right now at about 500 yards receiving so far with 3 touchdowns this year, that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. I think he'd have more than 3, I believe. Though. I want to say he's got at least 3 or 4 or 5, I believe, touchdowns. I think that stat may be wrong. But this isn't really head-to-head with Hopkins and Pickens, and I got to be honest here. I think Hopkins outplays Pickens. I really do. Pickett is playing tonight despite the rib injury because he's not in the injury report. So I kind of thought they would put Trubisky in there. But even so, Pickett less than 100%. To me, I just don't think that's the right smart move on this part. I would have kicked him out of the game. I mean, he had trouble breathing towards the end of that game last week against the Jaguars when he got knocked out of the game. And to me, I look at it like this. I mean, with Pickett, he's no difference maker, really. He's not a clutch guy in certain prime-time situations. I mean, yeah, he had the big game last year at Baltimore, but and really even last year against the Raiders during Christmas. I mean, here's the way I look at it. For the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game, Kenny Pickett needs to have a game where he throws for 300-plus yards. I don't think he has it in him on a short week. I don't, which is why I would pick Tennessee here to win in this case here. Plus, Derrick Henry's just going to run all over that team. If it's going to be a matchup right now where they're going to avoid T.J. Watt on the rush, they're going to do delayed handoffs to Derrick Henry or certain draw plays in ace formation packages. That's how they're going to win this game. And I believe in Will Levis. I really do. I think he's a real deal here. The way he played in that game against the Falcons, throw for 240, 4 touchdowns, that's pretty huge. I don't think that's a one-time thing, and I think there's a good chance here for him to outplay Kenny Pickett here. And that's exactly what he'll do. Mark my words. We have some more NFL news. We got injury news, which is tight end formerly for the Raiders, now with the Giants. Darren Waller will miss Week 9's revenge game due to a hamstring injury. So he will not be on the field against the Raiders when they travel to Las Vegas for that game, which even more the reason why I think the Raiders will win that game. I mean, that's one less offensive player that gets you going right now. If you're Daniel Jones, he'll be making his return, by the way. Except I'd rather see Tyrod Taylor out there personally, but that's just me. Anyway, let's take a look here at this point now. I think we got more sports news. We do. We have some more sports news we got to get into here. We got Craig Breslow was officially named the chief officer and GM for the Boston Red Sox. I wish I had audio right now to play for you, but unfortunately YouTube's telling me right now at this point it wouldn't not upload the thing. But it was more it was a more cheesier, like bragging right type of mentality. This is the Boston Red Sox. We're here. We're for real. If you don't like it here, you can, too bad. Kick sand here. I just think to myself, because he said it like a couple of weeks ago, I never really got a chance to upload the audio on that either. But I thought realistically that right there by far was so cheesy. And I think in reality, he's not the guy at this point. He's not I don't know why they keep getting these low expectations, like low rated general manager type, players that they get on here. But I just think to myself, it's like, why? Like the Theo Epsteins in the world, Dombrowski's, like you could have had those, right? I wouldn't even mind Brian Cashman here because he's a money dealer. He's a dealer kind of GM. And I think if you would have been a luxury tax, fine. It is what it is at that point if you're a Red Sox fan. If you're a Red Sox fan. But I would rather be in a luxury tax at this point. I don't care. Here's the way I look at it. These prospects so far have sucked for the Red Sox. No offense. Duran, not into him. Brian Bello can kiss my ass. The guy's terrible. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there, like, Tanner Houck was one of those prospects as well. Like, I just think to myself, like, oh, God. They've had reject prospect after reject prospect after reject prospect on this team for months now. And the only home run they had up to this point was Rafael Devers. And so far, he's been pretty great. The only problem is at this point, I don't think he's the best third baseman on the planet. Sorry, I don't think he is. He contributes to most of the errors in that team as well. So it's not like he's just that he's that good. And Devers was a Dombrowski guy. So the idea that you're going to take in Craig Breslow as your new GM here, seriously here, I don't take this guy seriously. I'm sorry. I think we're going to be in another year of a wasted playoff season where it's not going to matter. You're not going to be getting a World Series ring anytime soon. You're going to be in rebuild form with rejected players who are there to tank and collect paychecks. That's how the Red Sox are going to be in 2024, in 2025, and 2026 until they eventually fire this guy and they move on. That's how this is going to go because that job's a revolving door unless Alex Cora decides to take the actual seat in the general manager chair. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic here at this point. And I think Craig Breslow being the guy that is basically given planted lines to say because he's being paid to say them, to me, is just pathetic. It's no one wants to buy into your crap. No offense. I listened to it on my way home today. I wanted to throw up. Just the idea of a guy who thinks he can run the organization and has no idea what he's doing. Well, what can I tell you? I don't believe in him at all. I think he's wasting my time. He's wasting every Red Sox fan's time. He is wasting all the baseball gods' time, the analysts' time. But we got to cover it again in April, and we're about 5 months away from it now at this point. If he can get Ohtani to come here, maybe I'll change my mind. But I think that's a long shot now after what he said in the press conference today, what he brings to the table. He does nothing for me as a guy who, in my mind, would rather wants to watch great baseball for 6 months than involves my team. And right now, I don't think he has what it takes to make that happen. Sorry, I don't. I just think realistically that it's not too much to ask. That's how I look at it. We got some Major League Baseball news, retirement news, before I get into the World Series from last night. Nelson Cruz, after 19 seasons in baseball with 464 home runs, has announced his retirement from the game. This is coming in from Darren Perry of CBS Sports, the veteran slugger who calls it a career after 19 seasons, 464 home runs, played at the highest level in over those 19 years. Spent his time with the Brewers, Rangers, Orioles, Mariners, Twins, Rays, Nationals, and most recently the Padres. Across almost 2 decades of Major League Baseball, Cruz is amassed with 464 home runs, an OPS of 130, more than 2,000 hits, 1,325 RBIs, 1,090 runs scored, and 3,847 total bases in his 19-year career. So congrats to Nelson Cruz. Well-deserved, by the way. Texas Rangers won the World Series in 5 games, winning Tuesday night 11-7 after being up 10-0 in the game. They were able to win last night 5-0. It was Eovaldi and Gallen. Eovaldi went in the game last night, 6 innings, 4 hits, 0 runs, 0 earned runs, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. Chapman had 2/3 in an inning, but only recorded 1 strikeout. And Sorbers technically got the save there. Cody Seager got the MVP. He had 3 home runs in the World Series, most ever in the month of October. He is by far now most likely going to become the new Mr. November when it's all said and done. One of my birthday, by the way, if anyone didn't realize, yesterday was my birthday. He didn't really hit a homer in this game, but he had 3 home runs throughout the series. Garcia, I think you could have gotten MVP as well, but the way Seager played, it was unanimous at that point. First time it was a league championship series, American League ALCS MVP and World Series MVP. He had 2 hits last night, scored a run last night, got a walk. I don't think Garcia even played in this game, really, but I thought for sure Garcia was on the run for MVP. He was in the conversation at that point, especially with that walk-off home run in Game 1. I thought for sure this was going to go back to Arlington, Texas. But the fact they were able to close this out in Arizona, man, it was a shock. Didn't expect that to happen at all. And the way these games were just rapid-fire succession here. I think realistically, with Semion's RBIs in the was 5 RBIs in that game, and Seager getting on base. I mean, it was just magical stuff. I mean, they combined for 7 RBIs on Tuesday. I think Garcia did Garcia not play in this one either? Was it Carter? Was it Garcia? No, it's not. It's not Carter. Okay. So I guess Garcia didn't play in Game 4 or Game 5. Interesting. But Seager was a story here. Semien was a story here. These guys were the biggest difference right now at this point. And I think Semien and Seager should be up for Golden Gloves. The way they are defensively together, I think they were tremendous working together. Seriously. They both homered in a game on Tuesday too, by the way, on Halloween, where I dressed up as a devil. And Texas sealed the deal. They outscored them in this series 16-7 in those last 2 games. And they made a statement. They really did. Do I think they're going to be repeating the following year here? It's too early to tell. I'm not going to give a prediction right away at this point right now, just a day after the season ended here. But again, congrats to the Texas Rangers. They deserve to win. And there you go. That's one way of looking at it. We have some NBA scores we got to get into from last night, which I didn't even, I was going to cover this the other night here. Get on here. I need to get on here more often here when I do these games. I hate going back to Tuesday and talking about stuff on Tuesday. But before James Harden's debut, the Clippers beat the Orlando Magic 118-102. With James Harden watching, Paul George was able to nail down 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He was 8 for 17 shooting, 6 for 9 from 3, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Russell Westbrook had 18 points, 8 for 16, 0 for 4 for 3. Was 2 for 2 from the line. Both of them had 32 minutes. Covington, Batum, I think Marcus Morris and KJ Martin. That trade didn't become official yet at that point, I don't believe. But Kawhi Leonard was in there for about 32 minutes as well. Only had 8 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 from 11, over 3. Not a good night for him shooting the ball wise. But anyway, the Spurs beat the Suns in Phoenix with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal watching the game. Kellen Johnson's late basket gave the Spurs the win, and the only lead they had in the game all night, which was a game-winning shot in the 115-114 win. Wembanyama had 18 points, 6 for 12 field goal range, 2 for 6 from 3, 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Johnson was 10 for 20 in the game, 4 for 9 from 3, 3 from 4, both combined for 62 minutes. Vessel had 18 points. This Spur team is interesting here. I was surprised by this win here by the Spurs. I didn't think the Spurs were going to win this one here, but they outscored them here in that fourth quarter, 70-52 in that second half. Durant, by the way, led the team in points, had 26 points, 12 for 19 shooting, 1 for 3, had 2 rebounds, 7 assists. Eric Gordon had 20 points. Ogoe, the second-year guy out of Kansas, had 11. Nurk had 12 and 12 rebounds. So he had a double-double in the game. Grayson Allen had 19 points and 7 rebounds and 3 assists in the game. Was 5 for 9 shooting, 5 from 7 for 3. As a team, they were pretty good from the three-point line, 18 for 39. Not too shabby there. San Antonio was, believe it or not, was 14 for 37. It's kind of surprising, really, that the Spurs were able to escape Phoenix would win. If Booker and Beal were in that game, Spurs would have lost that game for sure. They probably would have lost by at least by 9 or 10 points. The Knicks went into Cleveland Tuesday night, Halloween night. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 109-91. They didn't have Garland or they didn't have Jarrett Allen there. Randall had 19. Randall and Brunson scored 19 points apiece. Mitchell had 26 points. Evan Mobley for Cleveland had 6 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. For the Knicks, R.J. Barrett had 16 points, 3 rebounds, 0 assists. Mitchell Robinson had 8 points, 7 rebounds, 0 assists. Quentin Grimes had 5 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, triple single. And Jalen Brunson had 19 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. For Cleveland, point-wise, Donovan Mitchell led the team in 26 points. Mark Struess had 6 points. I know this is early, but Struess has got to step up here. I feel like to me, stuff like he's averaging 14.2 points per game here, but that's that right there is the play you give the other night against the Knicks here. I thought that was pretty stupid. I mean, he could have played a lot better here. He was 2 for 9 shooting, 1 for 7 for 3. Had a horrible game shooting, and I think that was one of the key reasons why they lost the game as well. Other than the fact right now that you had Dean Wade, who just did nothing in this game. Had 3 rebounds, 1 assist. He was 0 for 9 combined shooting. I mean, that was pretty pathetic. Last night, I'll give you a trio of scores last night. The Toronto Raptors beat the Milwaukee Bucks last night, 131-11. Dennis Schroeder had 24 points and 11 assists in the win. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 5-11 from shooting the field goal range. Had no 3 points attempted, but he was 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Damian Lillard, who had a career game worse a couple of days ago against Philly, or back in opening, I think was it against Philly or was it against somebody else? I think it was against somebody else. I can't remember who it was now. In this game, he had 15 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 or 7 from the free throw line, 1 for 4 from 3-point shooting. He was 4 for 9 overall in the game. The rest of the games, I thought, the rest of the team, I thought honestly was meh. Portis did good. He had 10 points, and Cunnington had 3 points. I think they could have had him in there a little bit longer. But Giannis' brother is completely useless. Linus is not that good. Anyway, the Portland Trailblazers beat the Pistons 110-101. Sharp had 29 points. Cunningham had 30 points. Thompson had 7 rebounds, and Caesar had 6 assists. As far as the points go, though, Grant had 24 points. DeAndre Ayton had 16 points. Scotty Henderson had 11. For Detroit's side of the ball, Stewart had 12 points. Marvin Bagley III had 10 points. Cunningham had 30 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Bagley had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. I mentioned that already. Stewart had 12 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. James Wiseman, the former Golden State Warrior who came out the bench, had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Only had about 6 minutes of action. I'm not sure why you have Bagley starting over Wiseman here, but to me, he'd be a little bit more of a difference maker if he was on the floor for real, and you have Bagley come off the bench. I don't think he's really that much of a difference maker, honestly. Wiseman, more of a difference maker, I believe. The Celtics, who had their biggest win since 1959, lopsided, complete slaughter of a game, 155-104. I repeat that one more time. 155-104 over the Indiana Pacers. I mean, this was a slaughter. This wasn't even close. Tatum had 30 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Jaylen Brown had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. Kristaps Porzingis had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Derek White had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Drew Holiday had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Sam Hauser, off the bench, had 17 points off the bench. 5 for 7 from field goal range, 5 for 6 from 3. Was in there for a good 19 minutes. Benton had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, was 4 for 4 from field goal range, 3 for 3 from free throw shooting. And Peyton Pritchard had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists. Big difference key makers here in the game. And they were overall 20 from 35 from 3. 23 pointers made. And it freaking showed in this game here. No Halliburton here. They had Obi Toppin, Bruce Brown, and they had Miles Turner there. All of them combined, if you think about it, really 25, 33, 41, 44 points from the starting rotation as a team combined, as a starting rotation. Buddy had 7 points, Walker had 8 points, and Nesmith had 9 points. His return to Boston didn't go so hot. And TJ McConnell had 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists off the bench, 8 for 13, 0 for 1 from three-point range, on the floor for about 27 minutes off the bench. So there you go. That's your story on that game right now. Brooklyn Nets beat the Miami Heat last night, 109-105. The moral of the story is Bridges had 21 points. Tyler Hero had 30 points for Miami. Even though the moral of the story here was that it was Eric Spoelstra's birthday. Well, unfortunately, he didn't get a good gift in return for Miami. They are now 1-4. Think about that for a minute. They're 1-4. Talking about how deep they are and stuff like that. Tyler Hero, who's been a key difference maker right now, and Ben Simmons, who says he's a difference maker, doesn't really do much of anything for Brooklyn. But for Miami here, Butler had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 7 for 16, 6 from 8 from the free throw line, 0 for 2 from three-point range. Javier Vasquez Jr., 1 for 15 combined in field goal shooting here, 0 for 6 overall in the game from three-point range. Bama Bayo right now is just thinking about possibly leaving Miami soon. I'm not sure what the story is, but he's been putting up numbers as well. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists here. I don't know. But I got to say this right now at this point. Javier Vasquez Jr. I've seen like enough of him at this point. I can tell you right now, he is a total bust here. I don't know if this guy's got a bright future left with the Miami Heat here. When he's on that floor, he makes no difference on this team at all. He is completely useless. So I've seen enough to recognize that. Houston Rockets beat the Charlotte Hornets 128-119. The Nuggets lost their first game of the year. They're no longer undefeated. They lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves 110-89. The Cavaliers beat the Knicks 95-89. The Dallas Mavericks win over the Chicago Bulls 114-105. Grant Williams led the team with 25 points. He also had in the game 25 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Luka Doncic had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 shy of a triple-double. Zach LaVine had 22 points. DeRozan had 16 points. Colby White had 10 points. And Vujic had 21 points, 20 rebounds, and 1 assist. Well shy of a triple-double for the assists. Utah Jazz beat the Memphis Grizzlies 133-109. The Golden State Warriors beat the Kings 102-101. Steph Curry had a big game. Had 21 points. Sabonis had 23 for the Kings. Klay Thompson had 14 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Looney had 6 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Draymond Green had 13 points, 2 rebounds, 9 assists. And Wiggins had 14 points, 2 rebounds. Kuminga had 14 points off the bench. Sark had 15 points off the bench. And Chris Paul just put up a measly 2 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. Gary Payton had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist for the Warriors. Clippers With James Harden's debut going up against LeBron James, Lakers holding out the Clippers a snap, an 11-game losing streak in the Los Angeles rivalry. Kawhi Leonard was in the game last night. He had 38 points, 35 points for LeBron. Paul George had 35 points as well, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Kawhi Leonard had 38 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. You want to talk about a comeback game for Kawhi Leonard here, a wake-up game. That game right there felt like a wake-up game. That game felt like a playoff game. That was an incredible game last night. For November basketball on my birthday here, that was pretty awesome to watch. Russell Westbrook had 24 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. I don't believe Harden even played in this game. I don't believe, and he didn't. He watched the game again. Is officially on the roster, but I don't even think at this point right now that they needed James Harden on this team. It looked like last night they could compete with the Lakers. That could be a playoff series. I don't know. But Harden in there would be a key difference maker on that team, though. I'm just saying. Anthony Davis had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. LeBron James had 35 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. Cam Reddish had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Austin Reeves had 15 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. And D'Angelo Russell had 27 points, 2 rebounds, and 6 assists for the Lakers. The Hawks beat the Wizards 130-121. And finally, the Pelicans beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 110-106. McCollum scored 29 points and overcame a 22-point deficit in OKC. Tonight, you got the Raptors taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. You got the Orlando Magic taking on the Utah Jazz. The Spurs play the Suns one more time in Phoenix. And the Detroit Pistons play at New Orleans. That is the moral of the story. And let's get into some hockey. Some good old hockey games that were on over the last couple of days. The Kings beat the Maple Leafs 4-1. Vancouver Canucks beat the Nashville Predators 5-2. That was on Halloween night. On my birthday, the Sabres beat the Flyers 5-2. Dallas Stars beat the Calgary Flames 4-3. In overtime in Anaheim, the Ducks escaped with a win over the Arizona Coyotes 4-3. And the Colorado Avalanche beat the St. Louis Blues 4-1. Okay. And Charlie McaVoy, by the way, for the Bruins, got a 4-game suspension for a dirty hit that he had. That was back on, I think that was back on, was it Tuesday, I believe they announced that? Or was it Monday's game against the Florida Panthers? It was in a game against the Florida Panthers. The announcement came on as of yesterday. So he was suspended on my birthday, so he will not be playing again, most likely. So he won't be playing in tonight's game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Won't be playing in the game against the Red Wings on Saturday. And won't be playing the Monday game at Dallas. So he probably won't be playing in the Wednesday or Tuesday game, actually. They're not playing Tuesday. They're not playing. So he wouldn't be playing again until the following Saturday, I believe. Which I'm going to look at it right now. At Montreal is when he will be making his return. It was a dirty hit. That's the way I look at it. I watched the hit. It was Brad Marchand-esque in this whole thing for a guy at this point who's just living up to Brad Marchand's dirty work for him while he's the captain at this point and playing Mr. Innocent here. Marchand and McAvoy are one of the same. They're both dirty players at this point. It was a dirty hit. He knows it was dirty. He doesn't care. And I just think to myself, you don't want to do that. You're one of your best defensive players on the ice. Don't do that. That's the way I look at it. He's done it before to the head. Gary Bettman and NHL are trying to get rid of that because it's unsafe. We just had a guy get killed because he had a freaking skate to the throat here. Okay? That's not as, that is severe, but the head thing is even more severe. That could cause long-term brain damage here. We don't want to be launching ourselves at people. I don't know if you're trying to act like Malcolm Jenkins in New Orleans Saints and the Bounty Gate days with Greg Williams here with these kind of dirty hits here, but it's dirty. You can't be doing that. So stop it. Anyway, Florida Panthers are playing the Detroit Red Wings tonight, along with the Hurricanes playing the Rangers tonight. You have the Maple Leafs playing at the Boston Bruins. You have the Dallas Stars at Edmonton Oilers. Nashville Predators taking out Seattle Kraken, and the Vancouver Canucks are playing at the San Jose Sharks. Here's my take here, and I just had to say this right now about the takes a week here. Vancouver so far, I think are the real deal here. I think they really are. They're 6-2-1. They've had some pretty, awesome games this year. Peterson has led the team in points this year. 6 goals for Bozer. This is a really quiet team, and I think a lot of people aren't covering this team enough. And I think realistically here, this is by far, by the way, the first time all season, and I'm looking at this up as of right now, they're favored all season. It took this literally about almost a month for this team to be favored going into this game. And I'm just like, I'm shocked by this. I'm actually stunned by the fact that it took nearly a month for Vancouver to be favored in a game. Now, granted, they're playing the San Jose Sharks. They're 0-9, but still, I mean, it's pretty shocking here. Brock Boeser, though, has been a difference maker on this team. Since that 4-goal game, though, he hasn't really been that great. He is second or third, I believe, in points with 10. So I think he's been a difference maker here. He's a good right winger here. I think he's one hell of a player. I think he realistically is shocking everybody here. Nobody even knew who this guy was until I really announced it on this podcast, really. But Brock Boeser is a difference maker on this team, believe it or not. He really is. So that's good news. Edmonton Oilers, I think, are looking like right now a team this year that is really heading in the direction that I thought the Boston Bruins would be heading in. Because I think realistically, it's kind of surprising that they're in this state of mind at this point, playing the way they're playing here. People are saying it's too early to tell here. I look at it like this. They're 2-6 right now. They're facing the Dallas Stars at home tonight. Yes, they're favored the Oilers, but I don't think they're going to win tonight over the Dallas Stars. I'm sorry. I don't think they are. Leon Draisaitl this right now is playing himself and Connor McDavid at the same time. He leads in plus minutes, assists, goals, and points. I mean, it's just unbelievable here. And Ben's practically leading 3 out of 4 here for the Dallas Stars. But here's the way I look at it. I think it's time to sell Leon Draisaitl at this point right now. I think there should be a trade that goes going forward here that moves him, because I don't think he wants to be in Edmonton anymore. I don't think he does. He's 28 years old, really good center. Honestly, he'd be a really good trade package at this point for the Boston Bruins. I hate to say it. I would say you move on from. To me, here's the way I would look at it. You move on from Marchand here. You get rid of a dirty tactic, distracting player who could be captain somewhere else. I think you could move him and I think Leon Draisaitl is the way to do it. I think the way I look at it right now, he's leading in all 4 categories right now, and it's rare to see. It really is. And I think realistically here, you could use him like that, like a more disciplined guy, hockey-oriented, family-oriented, loves the game, is one of the best right now going forward. And I think realistically right now, you could argue right now is currently the faces of NHL at this point. Now, I know people are going to want to put the Sidney Crosby 2.0, Connor Bennett in that conversation, but the way I look at it, everyone wants to look at Connor McDavid as the face of that franchise. Look at Leon Draisaitl, what he's done. He has done more work, but he's been stuck in Connor McDavid's shadow. Here's your chance to get out of that right now and get traded. I think the Boston Bruins will be a right fit for him at this point. They're in the right, place at the right time. I don't know if it will get him over to a Stanley Cup hump here. I think he may make a difference here. But if I got to say right now, the one key thing the Bruins need right now is to avoid less dirty players. Charlie McaVoy, in my opinion, is one of those guys as well. And I would say if there's one player I'd want to have on his team right now, and it kind of doesn't intrigue me here, Jamie Benn at this point is another one that intrigues me. I wouldn't mind seeing a Tyler Seguin reunion in Boston at this point. I just wouldn't mind seeing it. To me, I think that would be the way to go. You talk about right now what the story has been going forward here. It's been the story with Boston since Seguin's left. They've not gone over the hump of going all the way and winning the Stanley Cup final. They haven't done it. Seguin was around at that point in time, was the weakest link on the team, which is why he got traded in the first place, and which is why he eventually left. But Seguin, I don't think realistically here has been a difference maker. Like everywhere he's gone, he's been a loser. He's been great for the team, but he's just been a loser overall. So I don't know. I mean, to me, that's just my takeaway in the whole thing. I mean, 8 games played so far, 1 goal, 3 assists, a +1. He's had 2 penalty minutes, which is just not bad. But Ben here, 3 goals, 5 assists, +3, 5 penalty minutes, 8 points in the game. That's a lot. That's good. That's good progress. For Edmonton, Draisaitl, 9 assists, 4 goals, 8 games played, +3, 10 penalty minutes, 13 points, 3 points per goal, 3 points per assist. He's been a difference maker. He really has been. Connor McDavid's been a -1. 2 goals, 6 games played, and 7 assists. I think he's completely burnt out at Edmonton. I got to be honest. The guy wants to be the face of Edmonton at this point. He wants the spotlight, but I think deep down, he can't carry the load. I don't know what it is at this point. And this guy's 2 years younger than Leon Draisaitl at this point. And the way I look at for Connor McDavid here, he's got 9 points. I'll give him that, but he's got 7 assists, which is why he's got the 9 points anyway. But I don't think he's not really been in the storylines a lot with games and stuff like that. I don't know. By the way, and also in other games tonight, Tampa Bay and Columbus Blue Jackets. I completely forgot about these other games that were on tonight. LA Kings are at the Ottawa Senators. The New York Islanders are at the Washington Capitals. The New Jersey Devils are at the Minnesota Wild. Montreal Canadiens are at the Arizona Coyotes. And the Winnipeg Jets are playing at the Vegas Golden Knights. Here's the way I look at this right now going forward here in Vegas right now. They have just been awesome. They have been terrific. And I think realistically, it's the moral of the story here right now is Carlson, Cotter, and McNabb here. They have been the story at this point. They've been the reasons why that they've been undefeated. You're leading at a +9. +9. That's not easy to do. This team is awesome to watch, though. Vegas in their last, 5 games, they've been dominant. The only loss they had was the Chicago Blackhawks at home. And they won in Chicago, but they lost at home, which that was by pure luck. But they've been dominating though against other opponents, and they've taken the distance here, but they've been able to prevail and finish opponents out. This will be no different here. I wouldn't be surprised they win in a shootout tonight here and they go 10-0. I just wouldn't be surprised by that at all going forward. We got some sad college basketball news. The legendary, the one and only Bobby Knight. Passed away at the age of 83, former legendary Indiana head coach. And just so many reactions to his passing. Remembering Bob Knight, Mike Krasinski, Magic Johnson, among icons to pay tribute to legendary Indiana head coach. This is the background on Bobby Knight. He started his collegiate head coaching career at Army Knights, spent 29 seasons as a head coach at the University of Indiana from 1971 to 2000. During his time in Bloomington, Knight transformed the school's basketball program into one of the top powerhouses in the Big Ten and the entire country. During his time with the Hoosiers, listen to the staff from Bobby Knight here. He had a record of 662 and 239 losses, 3 national champion titles, reached the Final Four 5 times. He also won an additional 138 games during his time at Texas Tech, which that would bring it up to, I believe, was it now 800-plus wins in his career from 2001 to 2008 before retiring. Knight's 902 career wins ranked as the most in the history of men's college basketball when he retired from the game. He now sits in 6th place on the all-time Division I wins list. With the passing Knight, many members of the basketball community took their opportunity to pay their respects. Former Duke head coach Mike Krasinski, Los Angeles Lakers legend Magic Johnson, and several others paid respects. Brendan Marks was able to do it on Twitter. Roy Williams, former North Carolina basketball head coach, tweeted his condolences. Bobby Hurley, the Big Ten Network, posted something as well. And Army men's basketball itself. And by the way, here, it's interesting here when you have Mike Krasinski, who was in the Army basketball ranking. That picture right there, I wish I could share the link to you, but I can't get the link to open up here on my end. USA Olympic basketball. He was, by the way, the team that won the led team in gold medals as well at the Pan American Games from 1979 and 1984 Olympics. So that was awesome. That was awesome. So condolences goes out to the friends and family and colleagues of Bobby Knight. He died on my birthday. I mean, when I got the news, it was heartbreaking. I mean, Matthew Perry just died this week, and then you hear about Bobby Knight. It's very sad. I'm not trying to compare because I think Bobby Knight is one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time, and Matthew Perry is the real guy who got people to watch Friends. Without Matthew Perry, there would be no friends. And without Bobby Knight, there would be no college basketball, really. He's one of the pioneers. He's one of the founding fathers of GOAT status as far as college basketball coaches go. There would be no intriguement. Indiana Hoosiers would never take off without Bobby Knight. Army basketball would have never really been relevant at that point in time. I don't even think that would even had a college basketball program without Bobby Knight being part of it. Coach K would never even had a name in college basketball without Bobby Knight's, mentorship. So he was a key difference in Coach K's career, and he was the reason why Coach K was the one to coach at Duke. So that's one way of looking at it. Here's the most. I found the 10 most memorable quotes from Bobby Knight, and I'm gonna read all 10. He said this one came back. I think it was at Knight's time at Indiana University in '94. When my time on Earth is gone and my activities here are past, I want them to bury me upside down, and my critics can kiss my ass. That by far was my favorite one. Coaching is a great thing because you're working for 4 months, then you go fish for 8. Night on Late Night with David Lamont back in 1987 after winning an NCAA championship. Number 3, I really don't like it. It's like if you hit a home run 450 feet, you ought to get 2 home runs for it, or you throw a 40-yard touchdown pass and you get 9 points. I don't really like anything that you come up, you stop, you shoot it. I don't think it fits in what my concept of the game is. It was also a lemon. That was referencing the 3-point status shot there. Defense is a key to winning in any sport, and that's what I believe in. That was his time in 1971 in the introductory press conference after leaving Army University. How many times do I gotta tell you, don't fight the rabbits, because, boys, if you fight the rabbits, the elephants are going to kill you. That was during the 1980-1981 season, as quoted in the profile published Sports Illustrated. Number 6, I said, son, my name is not Knight to you. It's Coach Knight or it's Mr. Knight. I don't call people by their last name, and neither should you. Knight to Kent Harvey back in 2000. Number 7, I hope they're all dead. Knight regarding his former bosses at Indiana on the Tim Patrick Show in 2017. Number 8, I think I think that if rape is inevitable, relax and enjoy it. Knight using an offensive analogy during a 1988 interview with NBC on dealing with stress. Number 9, play defense. Knight when he returned to the Assembly Hall in 2020 after being away for 2 decades. And finally, number 10, if the NBA was on Channel 5 and a bunch of frogs making love were on Channel 4, I'd watch the frogs even if they were coming in fuzzy. Knight in 2006 on his thoughts about the NBA and why he preferred coaching in college. That by far, I really should keep that for all time, because I know I'm going to lose it in the Facebook referencing page here, but I'm going to keep that just because, I'm going to text that to myself, because that right there, just that quote, and I actually remember him saying this quote. I was on my way skiing up north, and I remember hearing that exact quote word for word. I don't know what the story was. I think they were trying to get him to coach in the NBA. I don't know who it was at the time. It might have been the Wizards. It might have been the Celtics, maybe. I don't remember. But could you imagine Bobby Knight coaching the Boston Celtics in today's world? Coaching this year in his final year, and what a way to go out. I mean, really, in your coaching career, winning that team a championship and really getting yourself a 4th ring, really. Speaking of 4th rings, I forgot to mention this earlier. Bruce Bochy, by the way, got his 4th championship with I think that is now at 4 different teams now at this point, most of it ever in Major League Baseball history for any manager. So good for him. But back to Bobby Knight here for a minute. Just again, he is by far one of the greatest head coaches of all time. I would put him, Coach K. I would put in Rick Pitino. I would say I'd put him in there, and I would also put in there Roy Williams. As far as my being around goes, that's the way I look at it. We have some more college basketball news. URI playing Central Connecticut State next week, Monday actually coming up for the opener. And they had a huge win the other night. They won 96-54 in a preseason game against Assumption. And I guess they're saying URI apparently is better than PC this year. And I kind of look at the game and I watched the games the other night. My first thought was, I don't think PC's any better without their former head coach. I'm just being realistic here. Him who shall not be named, who's now taking a job at Georgetown, left PC high and dry. I just, he should not be named until the start of college basketball season. But apparently, there's some coaches that may need to see the job right now at this point, and they're currently in the hot seat. Brad Brownell from Clemson was on this list last November, but survived by finishing tied for third in the ACC after being picked number 11 in the preseason. Johnny Dawkins in Central Florida has just made one NCAA tournament in 7 years. I don't know how this guy still even has a job. I mean, 7 years in college basketball terms. I mean, wow. Mike Hopkins got a nice start with Washington. He won 21 games in his first season and advanced to the second round of the NIT. Then won an outright Pac-12 title in his second season while guiding the Huskies to the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. Why is this guy in the hot seat? I'm just curious. I don't know why that's happening. Gerard Hayes, Stanford, another Pac-12 team, terrible. 13 straight appearances in the NCAA tournament in a 14-year span from 1995 to 2008. Can anyone explain to me how this guy at this point still has a job at this point? I mean, I know he's a Stanford Cardinal for life, but Jesus. Kenny Payne, Louisville is one of the top 10 best programs in college hoops history. It's a school that won a national tournament recently as 2013. Hall of Famers Denny Crum and Rick Pitino coached there. So I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that it would have been impossible to imagine the Cardinals going from 4-28 and finishing 290 and a camp home before Payne took the job. But that's exactly what they did in its last season in Payne's first year as head coach. You want to talk about a guy that really should have been fired and it should have been, it really was on the hot seat, I think, throughout the entire season. That team sucks. I think he'll be the first one to go. Kenny Payne, I think Johnny Dawkins will be the first two to go. I think somehow Hayes will stick around. Brad Brownell, if he's fired, I'd be shocked. Honestly, he's been around the NCAA. He's been around this now for a while. It's rare, honestly, at this point. Here's the way I look at it. I think Brad Brownell and Dabo Swinney will be coaching in Clemson for the next 5 or 10 years down the road. I just do. I'd be surprised if Brad Brownell was fired before any of these other guys I just mentioned. But anyway, Bobby Knight, by the way, here's the coaching tree that he possessed here, by the way. Chris Beard was one of the assistants at the time. Coach K, Mike Davis, Don DeVoe, Murray Bartol, who worked as an assistant under Knight from 85 to 80 before guiding UNAB and East Tennessee State to its NCAA tournament appearances as a coach. Dave Bliss did something with Baylor, stopped at New Mexico, SMU, and Oklahoma. Bobby Welch, coach at Ole Miss, Texas, Florida International, and South Alabama. There's another name I would put on the Mount Rushmore at this point. I would put in Mike Davis. Mike Davis, who I think realistically has been another guy at this point who. And I'm not gonna do this in Mount Rushmore terms for college basketball coaches. I'm talking about for assistants in general, for the ones that were below the Mount Rushmore. So the Mount Rushmore that's underneath the almighty Mount Rushmore, the climb to that point, the ones that are below it. You notice that no one ever covers that in sports, the ones that are below the Mount Rushmore. So it's the Mount Rushmore secondaries, honoring notables. I'd say Chris Beard is one of those honoring notables. Mike Davis, Don DeVoe, and Murray Bartolo were those guys that were in there as well. Mike Woodson. I think Mike Woodson belongs in there. I think actually, you know what? I put Mike Woodson over Roy Williams. Actually, no, never mind. I put Roy Williams in there. I would do, and these are just players at this point now. Keith Smart, Jim Cruz, Michael Lewis, Isaiah Thomas, Steve Alford, Mike Woodson. They were players, by the way, for at the time for Bob Knight, but you got the idea of the coaching tree. But I would say that coaching tree, and so far, I would say Coach K is trying to install that with Bob Knight's coaching tree with John Shire here, who did get a 6-year extension and did get the #1 prospect right now in all of college basketball in Cooper Flagg. Welcome to Duke, by the way. I kind of can't wait for Duke now to take off right now. I really can't. College basketball starts November 6th, by the way, with Radford in North Carolina. Miami's at home against NJIT. Kentucky's at home against New Mexico State. James Madison is going to Michigan State. Dartmouth is at Duke. NAU is taking on UConn. UConn's 6th ranked in the country. Tennessee's 9th ranked. They get taken on TNTC. 3rd ranked Purdue is taking on Samford. American University taking on 22nd ranked Villanova. 24th ranked Alabama is at home against Moore. 7th ranked Houston's at home against Louisiana Monroe. Eastern Illinois is taking on 25th ranked Illinois. 18th ranked Texas is at home against UIW. Number 1 ranked Kansas is at NCCU. 12th ranked USC is taking on Morgan. 21st ranked USC is taking on Kansas State on the road. San Diego State is at home against CSUF, and CCSTA is taking on St. Mary's. They're ranked 23rd. That is on Monday. And I cannot wait for that to kick off. We have NCAA football that's on this weekend here. Really, the newsworthy stuff right now, I forgot to mention on here. Ohio State surpassed the rankings in the AP poll. They are now the new #1 team in the country. Georgia's going to come in at number 2. Michigan's ranked 3rd. Florida State's ranked 4th. Washington's ranked 5th. Oregon is ranked 6th. Texas is ranked 7th. Alabama is ranked 8th. 9th is Oklahoma. 10th is Ole Miss. 11th is Penn State. 12th is Missouri. 13th ranked Louisville. You got LSU coming in at number 14. Notre Dame coming in at 15. Oregon State coming in at 16. Tennessee coming in at 17. Utah coming in at 18. UCLA at 19. USC is 20th. Kansas is 21st after their upset win over Oklahoma. Oklahoma State 22nd ranked. Kansas State's ranked 23rd. Tulane's ranked 24th. And Air Force is ranked 25th. They are undefeated at 8-0. But my thought was here is that Ohio State should have been #1 like 2 weeks ago. Where was this ranking 2 weeks ago at this point? Why was Georgia still #1 at that point in time? They beat Vanderbilt. They didn't beat a ranked team. Georgia has not played any tough opponents. They've had the easiest run. Like, you might as well say the SEC East is one of the weakest conferences right now in all of college football. It's pretty weak. I don't care what the records are here. No one else is ranked in the conference right now in the SEC besides Tennessee. But other than that, I wouldn't even consider Tennessee as part of the SEC East because they play mostly SEC West opponents like 90% of the time. So if you want to put them in the SEC West, go ahead. That's the way I look at it. Secede yourself from the East and put yourself in the West because that's what you are. Georgia, other than that, has faced little to no strong opponents. The biggest opponents, the Florida Gators, and they suck. They do. They blow. So I think Georgia deserves to drop in the ranking here. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped it from the 3rd ranking here with Michigan here. They should be Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia. That's how I would have done the AP poll. Because realistically, you played Vanderbilt and you played Kentucky. You played anybody else that was weak. That's how I looked at the scheduling here. It's not that great. I mean, it isn't, you know. So, again, they're playing Missouri this weekend at home. And every time they have a ranked opponent, they're at home when this happens. So I don't expect them to lose to Missouri. I don't expect them to lose to Ole Miss the following weekend either, or at Tennessee. Although they might lose to Tennessee. Who knows? They just might do that. They'll beat Georgia Tech, though. Although you never know with that one either because they've been pulling off a lot of weird upsets this year. They beat North Carolina. They beat Miami. They could beat Georgia. You never know. I doubt it, but that's the way I look at it. Let's see. For top 25 games on Saturday, it's I'll give you all the games predictions tomorrow, but I'll give you some of the games for Saturday. It's Notre Dame, 15th ranked Notre Dame is at Clemson. That's a 12:00 game. You have Ohio State, #1 ranked Ohio State, playing at Rutgers University. I went there 6 years ago with Urban Meyer as the head coach there, and JT Barrett was their quarterback, and that game was wild. The fact that it was that bad of a game and that embarrassing, and that's when Rutgers sucked. The Rutgers are 6-2. They might make this a game. Kyle McCord is a pretty average quarterback, below average quarterback at this point. Like, it's just, I don't know. That could be a game. UConn's at 17th ranked Tennessee Volunteers. You have Texas A&M at 10th ranked Ole Miss. 23rd ranked Kansas State is at 7th ranked Texas. Virginia Tech is at 13th ranked Louisville. You have 11th ranked Penn State at Maryland. Cal is at 6th ranked Oregon. 21st ranked Kansas at Iowa State. Iowa State is, by the way, ranked third, is ranked favorite in this game by 3 points. They're not ranked at Iowa State. Purdue is at 3rd ranked Michigan. 14th ranked LSU is at 8th ranked Alabama. 19th ranked UCLA is at Arizona. Arizona State's at 18th ranked Utah. You have Army at 25th ranked Air Force. 24th ranked Tulane is at 1-7 East Carolina. 12th ranked Missouri, 2nd ranked Georgia. That's going to probably be a game of the day by leaps and bounds. I mean, there's not another game on there. I mean, although you have Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. You got 9th ranked Oklahoma taking on 22nd ranked Oklahoma State. Here's my prediction right now. I think Oklahoma loses 2 games in a row. I think they lose to Oklahoma State. I'll give that one of those predictions away right now. And I already told you right now that Georgia's going to beat Missouri. So that's 2 giveaways I have right there. 4th ranked Florida State taking on Pittsburgh. You have Washington, 5th ranked Washington, Michael Penix Jr. versus Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy candidate versus a Heisman Trophy winner from last year. Who's going to prevail in this game here? That's the big question. That's going to be one of the biggest games right now of the night. I would say right now between the Oklahoma State game and Washington USC game are those 2 games to watch. You have Oregon State at Colorado as well in the interim here for a 10 o'clock game. It's going to be in Boulder. So that should be a lot of fun. I'll give you my predictions for the rest of the games for that week. As far as interesting opponents go, you have TCU taking on Texas Tech tonight. You have Wake Forest taking on Duke tonight. South Alabama taking on Troy tonight. Friday night, you have Boston College at Syracuse, and you have Colorado State at Wyoming. Saturday, it's Nebraska and Michigan State. You have Campbell taking on North Carolina. North Carolina is not ranked going into the game. Wow. You have, I'm going to keep going down right now. LSU, Alabama. Not as big as a game right now at this point, but they are both ranked opponents, which I already went over. You have Arkansas or Florida. That's a who cares game. There's a lot of who cares games on these things. That's surprising. One game that might be interesting to watch, and I'm surprised James Madison's not ranked going into this week because they were ranked last week. It's Georgia State versus James Madison. Could this be the week where James Madison goes down because of the fact they're not ranked? That's a big question. On the road, tough opponent. Who knows? It's out in the open. You also have BYU at West Virginia. That's on at 7 o'clock at night. But yeah, that's the moral of the story. Last night, you have Bowling Green that beat Ball State 24-21, and you had Akron beating Kent State 31-27. On my the day before my birthday, Halloween, you had Central Michigan beating North Illinois 37-31, and Toledo beating Buffalo 31-13. Toledo is now 8-1 on the season. And that's really about it. As far as college football news, not really much else to say here. Nick Saban had a fourth, one more thing. He was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. He said on the fourth down thing, the analysts don't say what cats are doing. So that was referring the going for a fourth down stuff. He thinks that stuff is dumb and ridiculous. And that's kind of the reason why I think Alabama's going to beat LSU this week. I don't think, and I gave you another spoiler as well, but let's be realistic here. You have a particular game like this where you're facing LSU. LSU, by the way, who I think realistically it can make this a competitive game. But here's the thing. I think Brian Kelly is going to get outcoached by Nick Saban like he always does. I don't think that's going to be a shock to anybody at all. I just think that realistically, it constantly happens. Like if even in defeat, Nick Saban somehow finds a way to outcoach you in a certain situation. Like even last year with that 2-point conversion, when that wasn't outcoached, that was just pure luck. That's all there was to it. Like I go back and watch that film of that game every time, and it's like that was just pure luck. Barely snuck it in there. I mean, it happened. It is what it is. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. I don't know. And by the way, all Division I college football head coaches want Jim Harbaugh suspended for the sign stealing. I say suspend the kid. Connor Stallion is the one that's doing most of the sign stealing anyway. So, and this could be the last year for Coach Harbaugh as a Michigan Wolverine head coach. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, that's really about it. I got really nothing else to get into here with this whole thing. Long show. I didn't think I was going to go this long at all. A lot to cover here. A lot to cover in an hour and 20-minute span here. I'm going to be watching Thursday Night Football on tonight. I will review that game tomorrow. You can follow me on my social media. I have Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram. Those are the top 4 I have right there. You know the names. You know the stuff. Don't pretend like you don't know. But anyway, I'm going to sign off right now. I'm going to go take a shower because I got shipyard smell in my body. So I'm going to wash that off. So I'll be on here tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Enjoy watching Thursday Night Football. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.